Hey everybody, my name is Chantal Mernicle and I am one of the owners of Treasure Memories in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And today I get to teach you how to assemble this 2020 word album. We are selling kits online for this project, so feel free to follow along and create with me. If you have the kit, you can hop on later and participate at a later time if that's better for you, or just watch and see what we're up to. That's totally cool too. So if you did purchase one of our kits either in store or online, go ahead and pull that out and we will get started in just 1 minute. And if you did not do that, feel free to just keep on watching, see what we're up to. There are still lots of kits online. This album is made to order, so it's not like we'll run out at any time. So yeah, there's no panic, no rush. You could think on it, and yeah, if you decide this is something you want to do, go ahead and hop on to treasurememories.ca and you can order a kit for yourself and create this at a later date if you would like. So for the people who have a kit already with them, go ahead and grab all those goodies now, and I will just quickly sort of do an inventory so everybody can see what is in their kit. So we will start with this 12 by 12 sheet of custom made paper. So we make and print a lot of custom and exclusive products and papers and things like that in our store for our customers. So this is an example of one of them. This is like a little embellishment sort of paper. You would cut these apart and use them on your projects, in this instance in our 2020 word album. So these were designed and printed in-house specifically for this project. There are also 11 different die cuts, also made in store custom for this project, sized to fit and with the topics to suit this album. So some of them are single layer die cuts. So what that means, oh goodness, what that means is it's just one single piece. You would just glue this down as is into your project. Others are multi-layer die cuts, which means it's multiple pieces that you have to assemble first and then you can put into your book. This one is out because I felt it was pretty self-explanatory that those two belong together. The rest of them are in little packs so that we didn't lose all the little pieces in the travel and storage of these kits leading up to the class. So these are all little die cuts. We can just set them off to the side. In the comments here, I will put a photo of all of these glued together. If you didn't already see it, it was online and we did post it a few times, what these all look like. But just in case you missed it, I'll put a photo in the comments of this video so you can reference that to assemble these at a later time if you would like. You do have more than enough to embellish your book. We gave you tons of embellishments, both with these little cut apart papers as well as with these die cuts. So they don't all have to go into this project. You can use them on layouts or cards or whatever you see fit. Yeah, you'll have more than enough. Then there are 4 black numbers, 2 2s and 2 0s. That's to write the 2020 on the outside edge of the album. You should also have 2 binder rings and 2 magnets, as well as a whole pile of white papers that we have cut apart, and this is going to be what is building the base of our album. So clearly there are 4 sheets of paper with the letters 2020 staggered. That is the base of the album. These pieces at this moment don't really need a lot to them, so we can just sort of set those off to the side, and we'll kind of work with some of these other elements here first. I think I'm going to tilt my camera down so you can see what I am working on rather than just staring at my face while I talk. Okay, so we can start with this very first sort of envelope pocket page. For that, you are going to need a page that looks like this. It's just a single piece of paper cut in this shape here. You'll also notice it's got perforation marks pre-cut into it, so you don't need to score it or anything like that. You're just gonna take it and first you'll fold it in half. So there are perforation marks that allow you to fold it in half. And then there's perforation marks that give you these two little tabs. So you fold it in half, and you fold these two tabs in. Once you fold them in, there'll be the piece that faces away from this paper. You don't want to glue it onto itself. So the piece that faces away, that's where you want to stick your adhesive. So I would suggest a score tape for these tabs, but whatever strong paper to paper adhesive that you use and you feel comfortable with is totally fine. Just make sure it is really strong because this is a pocket and you want to keep whatever tags and memorabilia you tuck into here safe. So you don't want it falling out of the edges. You don't want these to come apart. So glue that into place and then you'll have a nice little pocket page. Next, we can glue together this multi-leveled little flip pocket here, okay? So for that one, we are going to take, there is, let me count here, 1, 2, 3, 4 elements to that one. So they all kind of look the same except for the top one. They get shorter in size. So you're gonna have 3 pieces of paper. This lighting is just awful for being able to see this. So there's 3 different pieces of paper that just stagger in length, all with a single perforation line there to provide you with a tab. And then there is 1 piece of paper also staggered in length. They're all the same height. 1 piece of paper staggered in length that does not have any perforations because it is the final piece of our little flip out and it does not need one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, you need those 4 pieces of paper. Then we are going to take the longest one first. So this is the base page. That's the one with the holes punched in it. That's the one that's going to stick into your album. And you are going to fold your crease. Then you're going to take the next one. We're just kind of going to make like a little train here of folded papers from longest to shortest. So first is the longest, then second longest, then the next one, and then the shortest one that has no tabs. You're going to take same thing when you fold it. We don't want to glue it to itself. So you're not going to put the score tape on this inside line because then when you fold it, it's just going to stick to itself and that's not what we want. So you're going to fold it down toward itself and then put the score tape or paper to paper adhesive that you're using on the outside edge. And then you're going to take this piece and line it on top and stick it down. Then you're going to do the same thing with this one. You're going to fold that piece up and you're going to put a nice paper to paper adhesive along that tab there. I don't know if that lighting is okay for that, but you're going to put adhesive on this edge here. And then those put together like this, and you're going to glue it onto this one. And then you're just going to do that one more time. Fold that tab down, paper to paper adhesive on the outside edge, and then you can fold it down onto that and glue that together. And that will give you, I'm going to take this apart actually so I can show you. One just giantly long, yours is still going to be white right now, you haven't decorated it yet, but one super long piece of paper that can fold up on itself like that. Okay, so once you've assembled all of those, then that is the end of that. So once you've glued those together and you've tested it, you've folded them onto one another and you've made sure, yeah, you glued all the right sizes and all the right directions and it collapses on itself, You can set that off to the side. And we can now assemble our second little pocket page. These are very simple. All of these are all very simple, very limited assembly required. I've sort of done all the cutting and scoring and prepping for you, so it's basically just glued together. This piece, same thing, it's got 2 holes punched in it and a perforation line. You're just gonna fold that perforation line. This one does not have tabs. You're just going to put a strip of score tape along here and a strip of score tape along here and stick it down. Push down good, same thing, you don't want it falling apart, but that is going to give you that nice little pocket there. If you haven't glued that down yet, I can't believe I just did that, don't glue it down yet, because we are going to want to stick this piece of paper down underneath, and we can't do that if you've already glued the pocket down. If you already have, it's fine. If we're being completely honest, I totally forgot when I glued my demo together, and I had to, like, you can see I had to trim my paper there to make it fit because I also forgot. But hopefully I said that fast enough for some of you and you don't have to deal with that. So this one, we're gonna fold it, but don't glue it down yet until we've cut our pattern paper to stick underneath of there. Now we can take our longest of the 4 2020 pages. So these 4 pages here, you want the longest one. We're going to take that page and we are going to build this waterfall on it, okay? So all we need for that is 6 pieces that all, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 6 pieces that are all the same size. They all look exactly the same. They have this little score mark to give you a tab. Let me just find mine here. There we go. As well as this. This is the little flap that holds all of them safely shut. Okay? So you can just take each of your pieces of paper and fold them on the score line. And just do that 6 times. And then you are going to glue each of those down onto your base page. So I'm going to quickly measure how far in I glued my first one. 1 inch and 3/8, 1 3/8 inch in. So I better take this out again so it's easier for me to show you. So my very first little flap, I glued 1 3/8 inch in from the edge. Okay, so 1 3/8 inch in from the edge. You are going to take this, put some glue on this flap, fold it down, but glue away from itself so you're not gluing it shut on itself. The glue's on the side facing out. And then you're gonna set it down onto here, centered height-wise, and 1 3/8 inch in from the edge. You'll glue that down. And then from there, you don't really have to measure because then you're just sort of gluing the next one down where the tab ended from the first one. And then you'll do that again. And again, so you can see this is where you've glued the tab down, and then you just fold the next one and just sort of line it up right beside the one before it. All the way to the end, okay? Once you've done that, you can take this piece of paper, fold its perforation, same thing, adhesive on the outer edge of the tab. You don't want to glue the tab down to itself. You want it to be glued to whatever surface that this is facing. And then you are going to, you can see how spacing wise, this one you might actually, just in case somebody got this measurement wrong, just maybe loosely hold up your 0 you do have quite a bit of wiggle room, but I would hate for somebody to glue their piece of paper down and then have it interfere with their zero. So just hold that zero there loosely as a guide to make sure that you've left yourself enough room for this flap. The other thing to note is that it needs to reach this first tab. So if for some reason you left more room in between these than I did, you want to make sure that this flap reaches all the way to the first pocket so that the magnets can hold one another down. Once you have got all those in place and glued all of the tabs down, you can go ahead and take a magnet and glue it. You'll glue one magnet onto the inside of this tab. Okay, so this is your big long flap that you've glued down. Right here, the side that's going to land on the paper, you can glue a magnet. See if I can peel this back. Can you see the magnet in there? I don't think you're going to be able to see it, but there's a magnet in there. So you're going to glue a magnet onto this, and then you're going to line it up and glue another magnet onto your white paper here. So we've got all this white. The lighting is so horrible. So you're going to have two magnets there. One is going to be glued to the inside of this, and one is going to be glued to the outside of that. And then when you decorate it and cover it with paper, that will keep the magnets glued to their respective sides, but it will help you close that flap so that when people are looking through your book, these pages aren't getting tangled. I love this waterfall. Okay, so that is how we assemble the base of that. The only other page we have to assemble now is our adorable little pop-up page. So let me close this book again. And we need our first shorter zero page. So grab these ones again, the stack of these, and we need our shorter of our two zero pages. And for this one, we're building this adorable little pop-up, which I love so much. I make cards with this little technique all the time. I think it's just the cutest, sweetest thing. I could sit here popping it up all day, but I'm not going to because we only have an hour. So I'm going to move that off to the side for a minute. And you are going to need 3 pieces of paper for this. You need a piece of paper in your kit that looks like this, a piece of paper in your kit that looks like this, and a piece of paper in your kit that looks like this, a little rectangle with the perforation there. Okay. First thing we're going to do is take this funny looking piece of paper, and you're going to see that there's the perforation marks all along it, in the shape of an X there, as well as all the way along there. You're going to fold the X both directions, 1, 2, as well as down this long perforation mark. Once you've done that, you might have to wiggle it a bit, sort of like get it a little bit loose. You don't want to do too many back and forth of any given perforation line, because you're going to tear your perforation lines will start to rip. Rather than just fold, they'll rip. But you can, you know, give them a once over back and forth just to give it a little bit more flexibility for it to be able to collapse on itself like that. I don't know if that's translating in that video very well, but the 2 X's sort of fold in on themselves and those lines just collapse. Okay, so once you've figured that out, and if you're struggling, if you're watching this live, you could just leave this part off to the side. Don't let yourself get frustrated. I know sometimes it can be very frustrating when you're trying to figure something like this out and you're all alone there with nobody to sort of help you. And feel free to come back to this part later and just pause and watch, pause, rewind, and watch this as many times as it takes for you to figure it out. But once you get it figured out, it's actually very simple. So once you have that, you can set it off to the side. And then we have, let me just make sure I'm going to do this the right direction for you guys. This piece of paper has two little sets of notch marks in the corners, and you want those to be lined up. When you set it, you want them to line up with the backs of these. So just make sure that you got it that direction, and then you're just going to fold, fold, fold. It's like an accordion. Okay, so then we have that. This piece, super simple, just like all the other ones with the perforation lines. You're just folding right on the perforation line, and that's that about that. This is the first one we're going to glue down, so you can take your paper to paper adhesive and put a strip along this tab here, and it is going to get glued down directly onto our page. I am going to measure how far from the edge it goes. I left 3/4 of an inch. So from the edge of the album to the edge of this tab is 3/4 of an inch. So you're going to take this piece of paper and glue it to the top of your zero page. 3/4 of an inch in. The tab is at the top of the page. Okay, so we're gluing the tab to the top, 3/4 of an inch in, and just height-wise centered. I eyeballed it. If you want to measure, you can, but I would have just given it a good little once-over with my eyeballs and called it a day. So 3/4 of an inch in from the edge, tab at the top, and height-wise, it's centered. Once you're happy with that, then you can take this piece collapsed in its collapsed state, where it looks like a little half of a stick man or something, and you are going to glue it under this tab, over this tab, I guess, but under this flap. So it's going to go centered from here to there in the center, and you're only putting glue on this triangle piece. Don't put any glue on this. Same as on the other side. Glue on the triangle piece. Don't put any glue on this. Once you have applied some glue to this side, you can stick it down, centered as you can. Don't put it exactly on this fold, because then you don't leave room for the crease to fold. So you want it close, but not right on. So the easiest way actually to do that, I'll show you. When you open it, there's actually a hole in the center here. That little square lets you see, and you want that square to be straddling your perforation line from your tab there. So I'm not going to be able to get you to see that through this camera, I don't think, but you basically want height-wise for that little square to be straddling this. That gives it the space it needs to be able to collapse under that tab without any complications. So then it will just be like that with these triangles glued down. That will just pop up. Okay, so once you've done that, you're going to take this piece of paper, and attach it onto our pop-up. So I'm going to take this page out here. This is the trickiest part of the whole class. On the back, you can see that there's only glue on the first and the last square. There's no glue on those two center pages. So you're only gluing this one down and this one down, and you're only gluing them. You can also see that it's only on the one half of that flap on the back. So you're only gluing these flaps that were the legs when you open them. This piece that has the slant cut out of it, no glue goes on that half. So that half, no glue. Same with on this side, where the slant is, no glue. We're only putting adhesive on the half that has this straight edge, and only as far as that little notch is. See, there's like a tiny little cut line in that. This is just not the greatest translation in the camera, but there's a little cut line there. So you don't want any adhesive any farther than that cut line. Same as on this side, adhesive only on the straight edge, not on that edge. Straight edge, and only as far as that little notch. Likewise, on the backs of this, you're going to use those little notch marks now to line it up on this. So these corner marks that are notched will line up with this. So it will glue like that. You're going to take the straight edge with the glue that you had put on the front only to that notch line. You're going to flip it over and line it up so that it lines up with the notches in the back corner of that. Then you're going to flip it around and do the exact same thing. So the flap with the straight edge only as far as to the cut line, and then you're going to place it face down on the back of this and line it up on those two little cut lines. So those are kind of like your guides to help you get the placement right so that this pocket opens and closes nicely. Because if you don't get the placement right, it's going to get stuck at some point and it either won't open nicely or it won't close nicely. So you want to make sure that all of those little cut marks are lined up on both sides and that you haven't accidentally glued one of the wrong edges. Okay, and if you're struggling with that, again, I would strongly suggest just putting that piece off to the side. You can always come back and watch this again later when you're able to pause and rewind and rewatch or ask questions. Don't let it frustrate you. I promise we'll help you get it perfect. If you're struggling, we will do whatever we need to help at a later time. Just for now, if you are struggling, just set that off to the side and come back and assemble that element after. You can complete the entire rest of the class without having glued that together. So don't panic that you're going to be behind or miss out on anything else. And if you did assemble that, congratulations, because one, I'm terrible at explaining things with words, and two, it's very complicated. It's not, it's super simple once you figure it out, but it's tricky while you're in the learning process of figuring that little pop-out up. Now that we have assembled all of the pages of our book, we can go ahead and start having fun decorating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip through. In your kit, in these kits, there is no pattern paper apart from this embellishment. I consider this more of an embellishment than a pattern paper. So none of these pattern papers that you see in here are included in your kit, because for us, we did not want to charge you more money for pattern paper when we know most all of you probably have more than enough pattern paper at home. So this is the part where you pick the paper that you would like, and then you'll use that for this book. So I'm going to go through it and give you measurements, so feel free to grab a paper and a pen and write all these down, or just come back and watch the video again later when you have your paper and your trimmer, and go ahead and get chopping. So what I would suggest is 5 or 6 pieces of paper, 5 or 6 different pattern pieces of paper, and 2 of each, just so that you have plenty enough and you're not running out. So for page 1, we have this red piece of paper here, and it is cut to 1 inch wide by 4 7/8 inch tall. So 1 inch wide by 4 7/8 inch tall. This plaid paper here is 3 3/4 inches tall by 1 5/8 of an inch wide. So 3 3/4 inches high by 1 5/8 of an inch across. Okay. Now these, there's 2, I think, oh no, 3 of the pages where I have taken the paper and sort of given it the same shape as the album. So what you're going to want to do for these is you're going to take a piece of paper and you are going to cut it to 4 7/8 inches tall, 4 7/8 of an inch tall by 5 1/8 of an inch across. So 4 7/8 by 5 1/8. Once you've done that, you are going to lay that piece of paper down. Like, this is not the right measurement, but let's pretend that this was the size of paper we wanted and it was going to go right there. Then you're going to take your number 2 and you are going to lay it over top of the paper like a template. So I can't tell if this is flipping the image or not, but because this is the back of the page, this 2 has to be laid down backwards in order to mirror the right shape. And you're gonna just put it right up against the edge. This is the 5 1/8 inch edge. And you're just going to trace this shape and then cut it, and that will give you that like mirrored, accurate look there. Okay. Then we have this piece which we used as a pocket. So that piece of paper is 4 1/2 inches tall by 2 inches across. So 4 1/2 inches tall by 2 inches across. And then when we are gluing this one down, you'll see that this is in fact a pocket. So when you stick it down, only put adhesive along this edge, and that edge. You do not want to put any adhesive along this side because that would stop it from being a pocket. So adhesive, 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 and open. Now these tags are 3 inches by 2 3/8 of an inch. So 3 inches tall by 2 3/8 of an inch wide, and then just notch the corners. This tag is 3 1/2 inches tall by 2 3/8 of an inch wide, and then notch the corners. Now this piece of paper is 2 inches wide, so 2 inches across by 4 7/8 of an inch tall, 2 inches across by 4 7/8 of an inch tall. You'll notice a theme as we go through. All the papers that are going onto the base of the album are 4 7/8 of an inch tall, because that's the height that I needed to be able to give. You can see they all have like just a little bit of white space between the edge of the paper and the edge of the album. So they'll all be 4 7/8 of an inch tall. Likewise, all of the tags are 2 3/8 of an inch wide. So this one is 3.5 inches tall by 2 3/8 of an inch wide, and notch the corners. This one is 3 inches tall by 2 3/8 of an inch wide. I feel like I am just shouting numbers. It's very weird when nobody can talk back to me. I just feel like I'm talking at you guys. But that's okay. You need to get the information, so that's all good. On the back here, this sheet of paper, where am I? Oh, okay. This one is 4 7/8 of an inch tall by 3 3/8 of an inch across. So 4 7/8 of an inch tall by 3 3/8 of an inch across. Onto this one. The base red one is 4 3/8 of an inch tall, because this one is now mounted onto the top of the flap, not onto the base page. So it's 4 3/8 of an inch tall by 3 inches across. So 4 3/8 of an inch by 3 inches. The blue tag is 2 inches across by 3 1/4 inches tall, and then notch the corners. And then, oh goodness, sorry guys, I just yawned at you. In here we have 2 different plaids. The top one is 3 inches by 3 inches. The bottom one is 3 inches wide by 3 3/8 of an inch tall. So 3 inches wide, 3 3/8 of an inch tall. These ones are all 2 inches across by 2.5 inches high, and then all the little corners rounded. And then this one, I did not carry it along. If you want to do so, by all means, you'll just want to cut this paper a little bit longer than what I'm about to tell you, so that you have room to carry that all the way onto the edge. But I kind of liked the white popping out from behind the die cut. So if you want it to look like this, then you will cut your piece of paper to 6 inches long by 4 7/8 of an inch tall. All right, now for this piece of paper to decorate, I'm just going to lay it out flat, and we'll just do one side and then the other side. So we'll start here. This floral piece of paper in the background there is 4 7/8 of an inch tall, what do you know, by 4 5/8 of an inch wide. And then this, again, anytime you see a pocket, keep in mind that we're only putting adhesive when we glue it down along the outer edges. Don't disappoint yourself and stick glue down here, because you'll be really sad that you can't put cute little tags in it. So the red piece of paper needs to be cut to 2 inches wide by 4 1/2 inches tall. So 2 inches across, 4 1/2 inches tall. Then this guy is, you guessed it, 4 7/8 of an inch tall by 4 5/8 of an inch wide. Then this pocket, same thing, keep in mind that adhesive when you're gluing it down. Do not be putting glue along that top edge. But this one, you're gonna cut it into a square first. Well, yeah, let's do that. So it's 4 1/2 by 2 1/2. So 4 1/2 inches across, 2 1/2 inches tall. Once you've cut that rectangle, I don't know why I said square. Once you've cut that rectangle, Chantel, you're going to take it down. This is 1 inch. So from here to there is 1 inch. So I don't know if you want to like measure and draw a little tick, or if on your trimmer you feel confident enough to go ahead and just eyeball that. But up here, it's 2.5 inches. Down here, it's 1 inch. And then you're just gonna cut a line connecting those 2 points, and that will give you that cute little angle. And don't glue your pocket down. You want space for these, okay? So adhesive, 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 no adhesive. Okay, this paper is 4 7/8 of an inch tall by 3 7/8 of an inch wide. And this one is 4 7/8 of an inch tall by 3 inches wide. And then these tags, these two tags are both 4 inches by 2 3/8 of an inch. And these two tags are 3.5 inches by 2 3/8 of an inch. All right, flipping over to the back side. So for this guy, oh, I'm gonna flip my measurement paper. So for this guy, it's 4 7/8 of an inch tall by 3 inches wide. This background one here is 4 7/8 of an inch tall, 4 7/8 of an inch tall by 3 7/8 of an inch across. And then for the pocket, it's going to be 3 3/4 of an inch across. And then on the tall end, it's 2.5 inches again. And then once you've cut that full rectangle, you're gonna go down and draw a little dot at 1 inch, and then connect the dot up there and chop that line off. And then for this one, I put 2 staggered sizes of tags in. So one is 3.5 inches by 2 3/8, and one is 4 inches by 2 3/8. And these pockets, they don't have to hold tags. I mean, you can tuck memorabilia, probably not tickets, because no one's allowed to go to any events of any variety that would involve tickets, but you could put photos or, you know, little notes, or there's so many different things that you could put into them. Tags was just, to me, I know personally I have a lot of stories and memories that I would like to preserve. So for me, a tag is a really nice way to just jot down, you know, little tidbits of information that I don't want to forget. Or maybe I do want to forget, and so I tuck that tag really deep into the pocket to hopefully never be seen again. Who knows, right? Anyways, the pockets are very versatile, so just because you see tags in them here in the demo does not mean that your mind should just close off and you just put tags in it, because Chantel did. Feel free to take this in whatever direction your life takes it, and use them for whatever works for you. So this one, moving on, the floral background paper is 4 7/8 of an inch tall by 4 5/8 of an inch across. And then there is like a tiny little strip across here, and that one is 4.5 inches long by 1/2 inch tall. And this final piece of this page is 4 7/8 of an inch tall by 4 7/8 of an inch wide. And another pocket, so keeping in mind adhesive, 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 no adhesive or you'll be sad. And the piece of paper is 4 5/8 of an inch across by 2.5 inches high. So 4 5/8 of an inch across by 2.5 inches tall. And then these tags, and I'm going to pull out of the pocket because I did not put adhesive on the top side there, are 4 1/4 by 2 3/8. They're both 4 1/4 by 2 3/8, and then just notch the corners. All right, I'm gonna collapse that back up. Now for this one, you have one of these white pieces of paper still in your kit. but I don't want to glue it down. Yes, I do. Let's glue that down first. I got those backwards. So we are going to fold our tabs both in the same direction. It doesn't matter which direction you folded them, just whatever direction you choose to fold them in the same direction. This lighting is so terrible. And then you're going to put adhesives just like every other time. I feel like a broken record here, but don't put adhesive on this side, because then when you fold your tab down, you're just going to glue it closed on itself, and that's not the effect we're going for here. So fold them down, adhesive on the piece of paper facing out, and then you're going to stick it down onto your project, and that's going to give you just a fun little pocket, again, to hold photos or notes or whatever you want. It's just a cute little pocket to tuck something in. Once you've done that, this piece of paper can get glued down. You'll have to slide it underneath of there to glue it down, but it's nice to glue it after the fact, because then it will hide your little tabs. So this sheet of paper is cut down to 4 7/8 of an inch tall by 6.5 inches across. So 4 7/8 of an inch high by 6.5 inches across. And then this piece of paper here is, that is not correct. I did not measure that right. It is 1 inch by, I really shouldn't have to measure this one, 4 7/8 of an inch. So 1 inch across by 4 7/8 of an inch tall. All right, I'm just making sure I'm in the right spot here on the project. Okay. No, this one is not 6.5 inches. I'm so sorry, ladies. It's okay though, because it's going shorter. I read the wrong line. This one is 5 3/4 of an inch across. So 5 3/4 of an inch by 4 7/8 of an inch. I got lost on my page there. All right, now moving on. So this one, same technique as we did on the back of this page. We are going to take this piece of paper and we're going to cut it down to 9 inches across. So 9 inches this way by 4 7/8 of an inch this way. And then we're going to take one of our 2s, we're going to lay it down backwards on top of our piece of paper, and we're going to use that as a template to trace that shape so that we can get that nice mirrored line there on the edge of our page. And then the second piece of pattern paper on this one is 4 7/8 of an inch tall again by 2 5/8 of an inch across. So 4 7/8 by 2 5/8. It's very hard to say the word eighths over and over again. I feel like I'm starting to say it funny. Okay, so for this one, hopefully I caught you fast enough and you have not actually glued this down yet. If you have not, good job. You will take this piece of paper and you will cut it down to 5.5 inches wide by 4 7/8 of an inch tall. And then you'll glue it down here, and then you can glue this pocket down. And keeping in mind, we're only putting score tape up the 2 sides. We want the pocket to stay open, so only adhesive up the top and bottom. And this excess paper will be hidden in there. If you have already glued this pocket down, number 1, I'm so sorry. Number 2, not to worry, I've already confessed that I made the same mistake when I made my demo. What you'll do is you'll do the same thing. You'll cut your paper down to 5.5 by 4 7/8, and then you will just cut notches. I'm just gonna pull this open and fix it later and show you that I just cut a notch into my paper so that I could tuck it in. So I would have my square piece of paper and then I would just cut a little notch so that I could slide it in without running into my adhesive that I had along the bottom there. And so that is how you will glue that piece down if you have accidentally already stuck your pocket down. And then this top piece here is 4 7/8 of an inch tall by 3 1/2 inches wide. And that's down at the long bit. So 4 7/8 of an inch by 3 1/2 inches. And then just like before, you're gonna come up to this side and you're gonna measure out to 1 3/4 of an inch. And then you're gonna cut that angle, and that's gonna mimic this same angle as your pocket there and give you a nice even matting around the full square. So that was 4 7/8 of an inch tall by 3 1/2. And once you've cut that full rectangle, you're gonna come to the top here and measure to 1 3/4 of an inch. So from here to there is 1 3/4 of an inch. And then you're gonna connect the dots and cut that angle. This guy is 4 7/8 of an inch tall by 6 1/2. This is the 6 1/2. 4 7/8 of an inch tall. This lighting is so awful. By 6 1/2 inches across. 4 7/8, 6 1/2. And then this one, I don't know why I felt like matting this one. I never matted any of my other ones, but I did matte this little embellishment off of our 12 by 12 paper. And I cut that piece of paper down to 2 inches by 3 inches and then just stuck that little embellishment one on top. And then for this, the one that goes over top of our flap here, and that will be the same measurement on both sides, is, keep losing my spot on my measurement sheet here, 4 7/8 of an inch tall by 7/8 of an inch this direction. So 4 7/8 of an inch by 7/8 of an inch. And it will be the same for this back one, and that one is going to cover your magnet. There was a magnet glued there, remember? We're going to use this piece of paper to cover that magnet. And then all of these flaps are all matted with 2 3/4 of an inch by 3 3/4 of an inch pieces of paper. So in total, you'll want 12 different pieces of paper cut to 2 3/4 of an inch by 3 3/4 of an inch. And keeping in mind that this front one is covering a magnet. You're having a magnet glued right there that connects to that magnet, and you're hiding that work with a piece of pattern paper. And then you'll cut a 13th piece of paper, also 2 3/4 of an inch by 3 3/4 of an inch, and that one's just going to cover, same thing, it's covering your work, it's covering that final tab, and you can go ahead and put an embellishment on it or a photo or whatever you would like. Then you can seal that back up. And our final pattern paper measurement for the back page here is going to be 4 7/8 of an inch tall again, like all the rest of them, by 10 3/4 of an inch. So 4 7/8 of an inch by 10 3/4 of an inch. And then I think that is everything. I don't think I gave you the measurements actually for these 2 tags. I'm just noticing them sitting off to the side. The 2 tags for this pocket page are 4 3/4 of an inch by 2 3/8 of an inch, and 4 1/4 of an inch by 2 3/8 of an inch. So 4 3/4 of an inch by 2 3/8, and 4 1/4 of an inch by 2 3/8. and then cut the notches on the tags, and there you go. So that will be all the measurements for this project. Once you've done that and glued all those things down, you can go ahead and glue your 2020 letters, numbers down. I popped these. I glued a few of the elements down with pop dots. Mostly these black numbers, so they were stuck down. I don't know if you can see that there, but they are stuck down with dimensional pop dots. It just gives a little bit of a pop of the numbers there. And then some of the die cuts I put on with pop dots as well. So once you've got the pattern papers down, the album base created, and these numbers down, then you can go ahead and start using your photographs and your die cuts and these different themed little journaling cubes and embellish your book based on how 2020 has treated you. So maybe you had a staycation, or maybe you did a lot of, Zoom videos for work, you homeschooled your kids. There's sort of stuff for most of the topics that happened. Working from home, quarantine tantrum if you got kids, honk it's my birthday for all the drive-by birthdays. Personally, I would have loved some of this. Siri, homeschool my kids. But anyways, there's also a few blank ones down here, just because we know that this has sort of affected everybody differently, and maybe you have a memory or a moment that you want to record that we did not cover in one of our little topics here or in our die cuts. And so if that's the case, you can go ahead and decorate one of these little squares and personalize it even further for your own experience. This one's really funny too. Tour your local wine regions, and it's just getting slowly sloppier trip around your house. I'm sure a few of us have had some of those nights during COVID. So that is all that's left to assemble your album. It's just to decorate and have fun and sort of think back on the year that we've had here, and think about what you want to remember and what you don't want to remember, and just record that into here as you see fit. If anybody has any questions, I will be keeping an eye on the comment section on this class, and I will try to answer every question you might have. If you need to get a hold of us, you can also email the store at scrapbooktm, so the word scrapbook, and then TM as in treasured memories, so scrapbooktm@gmail.com. You can email us there if you have questions. You can also give us a call at 780-414-1540. We would love to help you if there's anything you're struggling with, or you have questions about this class, or about anything really. We are there for you. Apart from that, if you liked what you saw and you wanted a kit, or maybe you have one and you want another, like I said at the beginning of the class, there is plenty to go around. We really appreciate your support and participation in our class. We've already sold over 100 of these albums, and we're just so thankful that you guys chose to participate in this with us. We're thankful to have had this spot with the Creative Scrapbook Carnival. We always love these carnivals, and we're so sad to not be able to see all your faces in real life, but we're happy to have this opportunity to connect with you still in this different and new way. This would be a fun memory to put in your 2020 word album, your virtual scrapbook carnival. So that is this class. We have another 15-minute spotlight tomorrow, where we'll be just doing some more. I'll feature some more of our custom products, and we will be making some 3D cards. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you guys participating with us and hanging out with me for an hour. Once again, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm sure I messed something up or forgot something, so don't be afraid to reach out. I am here to help in any way you might need, and I hope you guys enjoy your day getting crafty and connecting with some friends. Okay, bye.